We are live. This is the market update. Crypto holders, prepare. I am your host, Bill Noble. The case for Bitcoin is obvious, yet no one talks about it. The case for gold is obvious, and everyone's talking about it. Quick question. Could there be a problem in the bond market that messes up certain stablecoins? Maybe. Are you better off in Bitcoin? Probably. Are you better off, ready, on DeFi on Ethereum than you are on a layer one real world asset network like Mantra, where you can have an overnight disappearing act in a $6 billion project? What was that all about? Is that related to bond market dysfunction? Is that related to why ETH's up today? Want to find out? Don't go anywhere. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. Also, feel free to check out the YouTube member area where my colleague told everybody very simply when everyone was selling at 77K to calm down, carry on, buy Bitcoin and buy ETH, buy ETH, buy ETH, buy ETH. Also, you want to check out the Patreon area where, check this out, we had a member announced to other members in the chat group a year ago that he thought, not a year ago, a month ago, that there was something wrong with OM. So a guy who knew tokenomics published a warning about OM, and another member saw it, and the guy said this morning, hey, Mark, thanks a lot. You just saved me 10K. Not to mention the fact they did a whole bunch of custom chart work for Big Rich so we could hoover this market up on the downside. Don't forget about LuxAlgo. LuxAlgo premium discount zone. It's like money, right? Even if it takes a while to come off one of those areas. And of course, there is the Bitcoin conference coming up. If you got a problem with bonds, you got a problem with stocks, you got a problem with legacy, and the Fed's in, and there could be an issue with stable coins or real world assets, this is the case for the banana singularity in Bitcoin. And no one believes it, and no one wants to do it, which is why you should go to the Bitcoin conference, because if everyone figures it out all at the same time, it's going to be a tough ticket to get. Right now, prices are going up, but you can get involved if you want to get involved. Let's put it that way. Okay. The case for Bitcoin is better than it was on Saturday, and it was better on Saturday than it was even 2 or 3 days ago. It keeps getting better. We're just waiting for price to show up. So we have Bitcoin TA, right? The news about legacy and what all the doom and gloom that's going on out there, right? And what that really means for crypto. Like if you're like, oh my God, tariffs, the bond market, I don't understand any of this. Make sure you get in Patreon. That's the hard-hitting, skinny YouTube member area, 2 streams a week with me and the Solana Psychic. Don't miss it. Okay, let's see who's here. We have Bull Runner, Yav, welcome. Yav, 2 streams, bro. Thank you. Bob Marsh, a member for 6 months. Welcome to the show, right? Thomas, Aaron, Daniel J, Requiem, A1, Nicolo, welcome to the show. Bubba is here. Hello. Renee, Quarter Crawler, a new name. Hello. What's going on? Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. So Mantra token price collapses by 90%. Don't worry. Everything's fine. Of course, we all know everything's not fine. I actually believe it wasn't the team who sold it. Why would the team drive a $6 billion project down 90%, especially a project that's involved in tokenizing legacy assets? I mean, if it was the team, I mean, you'd have the government on the phone going, what's going on here? I mean, these guys are actively involved. So the layer one, the token for this layer one vanished. All right. So we don't know who it is. That's problem number one. We don't know who it is. Maybe it's a venture capital investor who had other investments blow up and they had to emergency liquidate their holdings. They still got $24 million worth of this stuff left, supposedly. Now, I have two outside the box things to say about this. One, if this is in any way related to the disturbance in the bond market, right? We have men behaving badly in the bond market. We have $1 trillion oopsie daisy trade that's gone wrong. You don't need the details, but OM does tokenized treasuries. You know, I was on a Twitter space with them. Like, yeah, we're doing tons of stuff. We're doing stuff with BlackRock. We're doing it all day long. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And you know what? The price of that token did feel artificially like I thought the target was $6, and I was like, wow, it went to $8. I was like, wow, that's some pump you got going on there. So it could be venture capital pump and dump. That's possible. It's happened before. Now, I really hope it's not related to anything related to treasury bonds. I really hope so, because I got news for you. That brings us to point number 2. If you got a problem with treasury bonds inside the RWA market, you got to look at Tether and Circle, because they hold a ton of government bonds, right? Like DAI holds over-collateralized crypto. Now, what does that mean? Well, could this be the opposite of Luna? Could this be a situation where Luna was holding Bitcoin to try to keep their stablecoin or their project up and running, okay? And then all of a sudden, the Bitcoin went down and the stablecoin got messed up. Well, could you have the same problem with government bonds? In other words, anybody who's involved in this government bond mess gets hurt, and like they ran into treasuries in 2022, and the thing to run into this time is Bitcoin? Possible, right? What's the ultimate asset backing things? Is it Bitcoin or is it treasuries? Which one do you like? I like Bitcoin. That's what I like. Because if this is somehow related to government bonds, the case to buy Bitcoin is epic. Now, if this is somehow related to government bonds, again, it's just an if, and we're allowed to do an if on a 90% token drop, I think. So the RWA universe, you know, it's cool, but obviously there's some kind of complexity here that we're not aware of. Does that make good old-fashioned ETH DeFi seem better? Does it? Right? Like, I mean, I don't know. Let's pretend there's no stablecoin problem. Let's pretend that. But you have a choice between RWA that's got treasuries woven into it and good old-fashioned ETH DeFi. Is it an accident that ETH is up 5% and outperforming Bitcoin 2 days after this announcement? Because you know, and we'll talk about this later, that the Fed's got to be in cushioning all this. And could it be that everyone goes, you know what? I think I want Bitcoin because everyone's talking about gold, so I'll do Bitcoin. And everyone's doing RWA, so I'll do ETH DeFi. How about that? Because RWA has a 90% down token drop problem. I don't know what that's about, but I do know that ETH has been vaporized. You're telling me that ETH has no use case? Really? Okay. Well, they have DeFi and a massive web of layer 2s. And I know I've been saying that. And that didn't mean boo until you had a 90% drop in an RWA project. Okay. So if something goes on in legacy, there's a gigantic ETH-based alternative sitting there waiting for them. Completely underpriced. By the way, in ETF land, right? You know, do a little E-trade. The number one ETF trade is long this 2x short ETH ETF, right? Bet ETH's going to go lower. Wear diamonds. Wrong. Okay. In other words, I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, if there's a problem with government bonds, buy Bitcoin. No one's talking about that. Everyone wants to buy gold. I want to buy Bitcoin. If there's a problem with RWA, buy ETH. Okay. ETH also benefits from a lower dollar. And if there's a problem with stablecoins, in theory, well, doesn't that make the case for Bitcoin? I'm not saying that there's a problem with stablecoins. That's probably the last problem. But if there are Treasury bond market disturbances, they don't go away in a day. It's not like, oh, we have $1 trillion problem. Oh, okay. There's a tweet from the Fed. Oh, okay. I guess that's over. No. And we don't know what this is about. And when you do find what it's about, my opinion, it's the reverse of Luna. Everything with Luna was sell crypto. This could be buy crypto because you got problems with legacy assets. In 2022, it was an FTX liquidation and crypto was the toxic asset. Now it's reversed. So I submit to you this. You know, I'm always talking about forced selling. This was forced selling for whatever reason. Well, what happens if the equal and opposite reaction is forced buying? Is that so ridiculous? Is that so asinine? YouTube member area, we're talking aggressively. I mean, Toby has not stopped on DeFi, has not stopped on ETH. Our members are good to go on this. And then there's more articles in here about Web3 and AI and DeFi together. And we already have portfolio construction for that. We already have that. We got this whole thing. We're gonna do it again tomorrow. New stuff, AI and DeFi. What coins are we interested in? Please come and join us and find out. I'll have her expand the list for the 2 streams we do this week. Don't tell me that this doesn't mean anything. It does, right? And when the Fed comes in and has to support the bond market so that we don't have a nuclear problem, crypto explodes. Now, if you didn't understand one word that I just said, let's do it this way. First of all, thank you for listening, despite not understanding. I ask you this question. What happens if there's an event that forces people to buy crypto? That the case for crypto is so compelling that there's nowhere else to go in the world except crypto. And of course, we will hear from John McAfee on multiple issues, including this one later on in the show. That would be the AI version, the resurrected John McAfee as we enter resurrection season. Don't miss that. Okay. So bizarre sell-off as team alleges force liquidation. Yeah, you think? You think. Question is why? We don't know yet. And when we do, Bitcoin's either going to be at 66 or 126. I don't really see an in-between. I'm kind of voting for 126. Michael Saylor waving his hands in the air like he doesn't care. He took 3,400 Bitcoin at 82K. Thank you very much. I'll buy it at 102. I'll buy it at 92. I'll buy it at 98. I'll buy some at 86. And you want to give me more at 82 on top of a trend line, which we'll go over. Okay. Average price is 67,000. Come get me. Come get me. Trump family is going all in on crypto projects. Now, who knew? Who knew? Who knew? You want to look at insider trading? If these guys were going to come in and do this trade thing, which they had to know, Besant, somebody had to know that this would kind of nuke the dollar. That's why. Who could have figured that out? I was like, wow, the orange man's going to, after doing a meme coin and having him spinning Melania around, you know, who did her own meme coin, that the real reason to buy crypto is because he's going to nuke legacy. Man, I wish I thought of that. Thing is, nobody thought of that. Nobody. And even though this article is being printed by Doomberg, it has not been traded in the market yet. And what happens? And it is. That's what you have to ask yourself, right? In research, you get paid for imagination. Here's an event. Here's an event. What does it mean? What's on the chart? And what did Satoshi Nakamoto write about? Okay, so the debate on tariffs. China will not win this war. China has 4 big weapons, rare earths, dump treasuries. Everyone hurts China more than it hurts us. Okay. You know what I think? No one wins wars. Wars have no winners. Okay. Now, that said, you know, will the communists push back? Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure if you look up the history of communism, the number of their own people who perished under communist rule is quite a large number. So they don't care, right? They don't care. Now, of course, naturally, England, the Financial Times in England, which of course we will talk about England more in this show. Naturally, they're like, Z has all the cards. So, the China has no cards. China has all the cards. Now, of course, this is geared towards the legacy, like, the high-end hedge fund intellectuals read the Financial Times. The smart guys in legacy read the Financial Times. And I'm not saying that the smart guys in equities or in legacy are not smart. Of course they are. But as we'll get into in a moment, there is a temptation. There is, I call it the big short syndrome, right? You want to see what nobody else in the general public can see. And you want to go in and make a bet that no one sees, and everything's going to go to zero. It's going to vaporize. Like Paul Tudor Jones in 87, or like the big short guy, right? I'm Ray Dalio, and I'm going to get on television. I'm on my PR people, get me on Sunday TV. I'm going to get my best suit on, and I'm going to go out there and tell people that this is going to be the end of the world. I'm going to make the big call right now. Everything's going to go to zero, and I'm going to walk over the bodies on the way into the Ferrari dealership. Okay, well, that's tempting. I could be a legacy guy, but oh my God, the bond market. Oh my God, I could do that. I could totally do that. I hatched out of that log, but I'm not doing it because all those other times you didn't have Bitcoin. And if this trade winds up with a Bitcoin 2017 parabolic or like a 25 to 30%, dare I say it, God candle, right? Because that could also happen, right? You took Mantra. What did you do? You revalued it overnight. That's what happened. That got repriced overnight for whatever reason. Now, volatility is contagious. It moves from market to market. So obviously with OM, volatility has arrived in crypto. And I submit to you this. Could ETH or Bitcoin go up 30% in one day? Could ETH go up 40% in one day, given how oversold it is? I mean, is ETH at 3,000 really ridiculous if all RWA and DeFi goes on to ETH suddenly? With the dollar going lower and metals higher, which is good for ETH? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. Okay, so back to the China debate. So, so we buy $430 billion worth of stuff from them, mainly smartphones and laptops, and they buy soybeans for tofu and jet engines. Okay, and the orange man wants that balanced out. Good luck. Their whole economy is based on exports. So if they give in on tariffs, they implode. And maybe perhaps their best tack is just let themselves implode. Just let it implode. Now, they're afraid of social disorder, but no one wins this fight. Okay. And of course, in legacy, over the weekend, oh my God. Can you believe the negativity? Hartnett, long to your notes, safe haven in treasuries, allegedly, or I should say historically and allegedly. Long to your notes, short S&P. They call S&P, they call them Spoos. Okay, the symbol used to be SP back in the day. So they're called Spoos. That's why he states the Flow Show report, U.S. exceptionalism is ending. U.S. repudiation starting. This means the end of the era where the U.S. buys the rest of the world's goods and the rest of the world buys U.S. treasuries. And the start of a buyer strike in U.S. assets, right? And Jerome Powell comes into work, and that is right on his desk. Isn't it kind of funny? I don't want bonds, and I'm short stonks. And wouldn't it be hysterical if asset allocators said, well, okay, we can't do bonds because we know something's wrong there. So why don't we do stonks down 30% and crypto? What about, and Novogratz called it the Magnificent Eight. Or how about the Nifty Nine and throw Ethereum in there as well? Or maybe XRP. The Magnificent Seven, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. How about that instead of treasuries? You could have insane volatility in treasuries. You have a $1 trillion blow up there. So how do you get away from that blow up? Well, I think you buy stocks in crypto. Meanwhile, this characters all want to be like, oh God, I want to do the trade from 2008. I want to do the big short. I want to be a smart legacy guy. Okay, bro. Okay. You know what, dude? I'm going to take the other side of all of that. Worst case scenario, I'll be wrong and I'll get tuned out. Best case scenario is I'll be waving the Bitcoin white paper around and quotes from John McAfee, right? And the real genius move is to counter the groupthink, because this is now officially groupthink. Hedge fund CIO, politics, policymakers, and central bankers are the last to panic. The smart ones know if you're pretty sure that at some point there will be a panic, make sure you're amongst the first to exit. Now, if you just took out, the smartest ones know that if you're pretty sure at some point there will be a panic, make sure you're amongst the first people to buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum call options. How about we go outside the box? The politicians, the policymakers, and the central bankers are the last to panic. I wonder if you could like move that around, because history rhymes. It doesn't match, but it sometimes rhymes. What happens if it's like the hedge funds, the central banks, and the corporations, and the panic is to buy Bitcoin? In other words, they're going to like panic and do what? Panic and sell everything? Panic and have treasuries and everything go to zero? Or panic and get out of the dollar and get into Bitcoin? McDonald's was talking about buying Bitcoin. We covered that last week. Is it so ridiculous? Okay. In general, interventions by credible governments work at least temporarily. Okay. So the Fed's in. The Fed's in. And if the Fed's in, does Bitcoin have a cushion underneath it? And if the Fed is not the ultimate solution, then what is? Well, choice one, everything in legacy goes to zero and takes the rest of the world with it, and we all go live in a cave. That's choice one. Choice two is that all this pressure in the system. I know I say that and you're like, oh, Bill, what are you talking about? Now you know what I'm talking about. All this pressure in the system gets vented through this little teeny weeny market in crypto. I saw brokerage firms hiring financial consultants in Texas. Apparently, they're having a little bit of trouble selling whatever it is they're trying to sell people, their 60-40 allocation, because that's not working. And it hasn't been working for 2 years, and it's never going to work again. You got to be 50 stocks, 30 Bitcoin, 20 canned goods. Am I crazy? Jamie Dimon warns of Treasury market kerfuffle that could force the Fed to intervene. Yeah, in other words, Jamie's on the phone with Powell going, Jerome, help me. I'm short gold and long bonds, and I lent money to hedge funds who blew themselves up. Wah! Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Right? Yeah, dude, the kerfuffle. This is the kerfuffle. The kerfuffle is that no risk management model at a bank is going to tell the bank to go buy Bitcoin. It may tell the bank to go buy gold, and gold could go to 5,000, and we've discussed that, but that's now consensus. That's now obvious. Frankly, it's obvious, right? Everyone's like, okay, yeah, gold's going to 5,000. Walk into a diner and be like, hey, how many people think gold is going to 4,000? Every hand would go up. Every hand would go up. I can't believe how many articles there are about gold. Oh, here we go. Here's Ray with the suit on CNBC, right? Like, here we go again. Oh, where's Ray? Oh, here he is. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, when I was at a different company, right? Like the PR people that we had handled Ray Dalio. Okay. And Ray Dalio could just pick up the phone, and not Ray Dalio, the PR firm could just pick up the phone and get Ray on whatever TV show he wanted. So ask yourself this question. Ray normally is like a retired guy. He's like doing podcasts. He's a gazillionaire. You know, he does it from his home. You know, why did he put the suit on? Why did he go meet the press on national TV to say, I think right now we're at a decision-making point and very close to a recession? I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. Okay. So why? Well, what do you mean why? Because he wants to make the big call. He wants to go on TV and say the whole world's going to break. So everyone will buy his books, and most likely, of course, Bridgewater has the end of the world trade on, and has probably been building the end of the world trade for some time, because Bridgewater is a bunch of geniuses. I'm not saying this guy's not a genius, but I am telling you that he went on television to try and just absolutely put the dagger in the legacy system and wreck it, which of course is what hedge fund guys do. That's fine. That's fine. But where's the crypto counterweight? Well, the crypto counterweight is me from my humble little studio going, hey, everything this guy just said, yeah, vent it through Bitcoin. Vent it through Ethereum. Ethereum is now in a conversation thanks to Mantra. I don't really care what happened to Mantra. I mean, it might be relevant, but I don't care. I care that this just gave ETH a use case, because you use some random layer one and get nuked for whatever reason. Okay, that's a lot of things can happen in ETH. That's not one of them. Okay, so you can pay gas or you can lose 90% overnight, especially since ETH has already been vaporized. I mean, oh my God, if that is not the case for ETH, I don't know what is. And these guys they're trying to hit a home run. And the home run is a 30% God candle. Excuse me, because I know we're coming up on an important religious holiday. What happens if Easter is the God candle? You get a thin holiday market, everyone talking this, and boom, they do it when you're not looking. Because not just they do it because they have to do it. Oh, of course, we have Mike Novogratz, a total hero of mine. Okay. But he hates the orange man. There's no question about it, right? So I don't know one real macro thinker who isn't very, very concerned. Not one. Okay, great. So I think I'm a real macro thinker. And this thing with Dalio gave me nightmares. There's more of it. There's more of it. It gave me nightmares. It made me upset. And then I asked myself, all right, well, if the Bitcoin guy is joining in on this negative parade, instead of sitting by going, well, we're going to have that God candle any minute now. Better stay close to my screens and cancel the vacation, because we're all going to be running into the office over the holiday because it's going up 40% in one day. Nope, that's not what we're saying. This is the guy with the Luna tattoo, by the way. Right? Sometimes he gets a little off balance. He's a genius, but all geniuses get a little off balance. And here we go, slamming the trade thing. We seem to be making adversaries out of our friends, Canada, where they have thought crime, and Mexico, where they don't care who or what comes across the border, but they're our friends. Okay. Ask Texas farmers about that. Yeah, we have a 12-year problem with the Chinese, but I'm not buying into the whole security boogeyman existential threat. Hey, Mike, the existential threat is that there's a problem with fiat currencies and government securities in every single country. That's the existential threat, Mike. Okay. And then, shockingly, I still can't get over this. So Galaxy Digital, which, I'm sure I haven't confirmed this elsewhere, but, Galaxy Digital has done a deal, right, to take this Bitcoin mining facility and have it, renovated for AI data centers. So we have chatbots that are awesome, but not profitable. And a crypto investment bank, which probably got paid a boku money to turn that over to the AI guys, just gave up on Bitcoin mining. So he's joining Dalio. He's freaking out. He's bearish. He's worried. He's listening to everyone say the same thing. He's getting rid of his Bitcoin mine. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You have an organic source of Bitcoin functioning, and you're selling that to some AI data center. I hope you got paid. I really hope. I hope you got paid a lot of money. A lot of money, Mike. A lot. This has to be the worst possible outcome for the bond market. Uncertainty highest since March 2020, when Bitcoin bottomed before stonks. If there was a plan to calm the market down, it failed miserably. Buckle up for a wild week. Market opens up. Again, this lands on Jerome Powell's desk. You say what you want about Jerome Powell. Okay. Willimeter, a super chat, a character appearing from behind a cloud saying hiya. Kamania, welcome to the show. Okay, wrong again. Okay, and we'll go through this because I'm showing this today. And you're right about this. All right. This guy just went through a great explanation after Whoopi says everybody should go out and pay higher taxes. Alex lays out very clearly, everyone's got 2 jobs. Everyone's barely surviving. No one's got any savings. Everyone's 1 step away from bankruptcy. This is like his family. The recession has been going on for 2 years. It's actually been a depression. Now, for a hedge fund, legacy assets going down and interrupting your Nvidia margin account and your ability to buy steak and take vacations may sound like a recession to you, but for people who watch UFC fights and Alex, it perhaps could be different. And their solution, they can't get long credit default swaps in the United States. But when people see this, they can buy Bitcoin. And if you have a herd of individual investors, a herd of corporations, and certain governments FOMOing in over an illiquid Easter holiday, well, I know I already said that. Okay, now let's all bow down at the altar of gold, right? So Orange Man says, I will not back down. Chinese say, I will not back down. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, gold has nearly doubled since the Wall Street Journal published this 3 years ago. So gold is now a safe haven. So, at $1,500, no one wants it, but at $3,500, it's much more attractive. It's a really great investment at $3,500, but at $1,500, oh, I'm not touching it. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? 80K, oh, I'm not touching that. It's correlated to NASDAQ. Oh, I don't want that. What's the excuse again? I can't remember. There's so many. But they do this all the time. Now you flip it around. China reportedly bought 5 tons, but they actually bought 50 tons. Okay. That's because their currency is toilet paper, right? And they need to make sure it's backed by gold, which is a smart move on their part. But it's not an excuse to not buy Bitcoin. They should have bought Bitcoin instead, or at least some Bitcoin. But of course, they can't admit that because the communists chased all the Bitcoin out to Texas. Communists. Gold could plausibly trade near $4,500 by the end of 2025, says a $1 million a year economist at Goldman. We talked about this before about gold going to 5,000. Now it's consensus. Just like, so this week they're all gold experts. Last week they're all recession experts. We've had the recession. The Fed's not going to tolerate that. Neither is the Orange Man. Groupthink. When has groupthink ever worked out? Volume of gold futures traded in Shanghai. Okay, so unlike our dumb metals exchanges and futures exchanges, when you trade futures in Shanghai, yeah, you actually get physical metal. They don't do this IOU thing out there. Yeah, just, insane buying. Is it a safe haven? Probably. Are there problems with fiat currencies out there? Oh, yeah. This is either a dollar devaluation or panic currency backing, or both. I don't understand how this doesn't make a case for Bitcoin. Gold ETF inflow hits 3-year high as everything gold in the crypto market outperforms. We're noticing a pattern here. This is like all the Bitcoin articles that were all bullish back at the top. Damn it, missed that. But they're doing it again. They're doing it again in something else. No one's talking about Bitcoin. Central banks keep buying gold with rising fear of monetary destruction and trade currency war. Or how about we just move to a different system? We'll hear from John McAfee soon. Goldman CEO expresses support for the Orange Man's effort to renegotiate and strengthen U.S. trade. Well, what do you know? The liberal New York, Manhattan CEO of a big investment bank, who I still happen to be fond of because those people, they gave me my shot, right? Coming around and liking the Orange Man now, are we? Supposedly the Orange Man has no leverage, is going to lose the trade war. Who knew? Maybe tough to see, but Intel gave up on Bitcoin mining chip business 2 years ago. How did it work out for the stock? Here's the hint: not good. The whole company was mismanaged, so you can't say Intel got wrecked just because they gave up on Bitcoin mining chips. But why is everybody giving up on Bitcoin mining? Oh no, there's tariffs. The Bitcoin miners won't be able to get parts. The Orange Man is invested in Bitcoin miners. The Bitcoin miners will be able to get parts. Why is everyone packing it in? Oh, I want to sell my Bitcoin miner to an AI data center. Oh, I don't want to do those chips. Okay. I mean, it'll be much more attractive to do this stuff at 125K Bitcoin. It'll be like, wow, this makes complete sense. I didn't want it at 80. Sam Altman confirms OpenAI doing open source model. Okay, well, that's terrific. I'm sure that's great because other players are doing it, but I have a question. Is that profitable? Why would you sell a Bitcoin mine to do more of this? This is great. It helps me, but it's not profitable, right? And is there a better investment in the decentralized world? Will the decentralized world benefit from the open source model? I bet AI John McAfee will. We'll hear more from him in a minute. Okay, Chinese yuan about to crack. Fiat, done. Billionaire investor who helped scale a social media company explains how the middle class has gotten hosed. So not some red hat, guy with a red hat, somebody from Silicon Valley going, hey, this has been no bueno. Guys talking about getting short Solana and covering at 90. Meanwhile, the Solana community shipped another dozen updates. Okay. Orange Man suing legacy media for billions. 4% of the people worldwide own Bitcoin. 10% of North America, 3% Europe. 3. Got Alex did some stuff about what's going on over there in the UK with some details. Scary. 3% of Asia, right? 1% of Africa. 6% of South America, and probably a huge chunk of that is El Salvador. No one owns Bitcoin. People got half their money invested in legacy. Old people are sitting in treasuries thinking that they're safe. The 60-40 portfolio. The whole world is in a 60-40 portfolio, and pretty much everything in that portfolio is either range-bound or an accident going someplace to happen, or both, yet no one owns Bitcoin. What happens if everyone wakes up one day and goes, I think we should do this. Buy me some at the market, and we'll check where price is. Now, best article of today. Web3 needs to be more human, and emotional AI is the answer. Web3 adoption because of UI and technical barriers. Emotional AI can redefine the user experience. What happens if AI onboards people into ETH DeFi? What happens if trading, again, I used to work at a company that wanted to make investing in altcoins kind of like a mechanized mutual fund process. You think this stuff is not out there and they can't mushroom it once it starts? They can't stop buying Fartcoin. They can't stop buying it. That's the only AI play out there that anybody understands and wants to buy. What happens when that spreads out? If you get a monster move in Bitcoin and Ethereum, you're going to be looking around at all these AI-based altcoins and all this Web3 stuff that, of course, no one wants to talk about except Toby in the YouTube member area. And you're going to say, gee, how come we're not buying this stuff? Or, gee, how cheap is this stuff? Yeah, it's real cheap. Bull market's over, crypto winter, it's all over. It's no, bro. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. How to build an AI crypto bot with custom GPTs. How about Web3? Metaplanet becomes the 9th biggest publicly traded Bitcoin holder. Okay. So yeah, they bought the top, but they're still buying. Why is the Bitcoin price stuck? Normally, an article the media writes right before it gets unstuck, right? When the news is that it's stuck because they have nothing else to write about, that's when you know it's just going to go, 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 go. in my opinion. Here's what happened in crypto today, right? One exchange in particular may have caused OM. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, we don't know who it is. It's got to be Binance. It wasn't Binance. So an exchange pushed a button and erased a $6 billion token all at once, huh? Is that what we're saying? I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay. Trade record versus M2 money supply. Okay. There's a lot of talk about M2 money supply. There's not a lot of talk about the Fed just indiscriminately putting in high-powered money, right? I have a version of this. Some guy has the LuxAlgo version. He just took it off. But you broke out of this and came back and retested it around 82-ish. I think it's constructive if you want the TA of the matter. Bitcoin faces cloud resistance at 85K. So the day traders are out there trying to tell you where the resistance is. There's the resistance. You have to respect resistance. Okay, I got that. I got it. Now, again, I always ask what happens if you can't break resistance, it'll go to 72 or 77 or whatever. 78 is the 62% retracement of the last run up in Bitcoin. Okay. If it doesn't go up, it'll go down. We know that. What happens if it goes up? That's what we're not talking about. Look at this. Nvidia announces a $500 billion investment plan to build AI infrastructure in the United States. And he's going to manufacture AI supercomputers in the United States. And it's on the Nvidia blog. Huh. Imagine that. This could be the whole point of all this, like who's going to win the trade war. Who's going to win the trade war is everyone who works at these places. Because the orange man is going to make sure this gets built, right? And he's going to make noise until this kind of stuff happens. Really, what happens with the Chinese trade balance is not the issue. This is the issue. And then somebody will figure out that crypto could be this made in America industry that he wants built here too. That was common sense in January, and no one is talking about it now. No one. Absolutely no one. By the way, Orange Man, long ETH DeFi out the wazoo. SE signals massive crypto shakeup at Roundtable. Just in time for ETH DeFi. ChatGPT says buy ONDO. Grok says buy XRP. I don't know. I mean, somebody's going to survive the real world asset thing. BlackRock's invested in ONDO. Okay. OM could be a buy down 90%. If you like value investing. Or you could do ETH and Bitcoin, or you could do ETH-based DeFi. Because if everybody goes and switches, I don't know, man. There's a lot of highway on Ethereum no one's using. Okay. Bitcoin options play shows 100K target back in the bull's crosshairs. Makes complete sense, right? You can't figure out when it's going to happen, but if you're doing options, you better get the options before any possible God candle. You want to get the options early because you're not, even if you think it's going up and you get the right option, once something moves 20 or 30%, options become unaffordable. When do you buy options? When the market's not moving. Okay. Orange Man's crypto project buying layer ones. Interesting. Okay. Will Bitcoin go to 79 or 97? Right? 79 is not a bad downside target if it's a mess. I think there's too much talk about 79 and not enough talk about 97. I love this. Is Bitcoin a safe haven if Ray Dalio's worse than a recession strategy comes true? Huh. Does that sound a little bit like an article that we had earlier on in the show where the Wall Street Journal said that, oh, yeah, gold wasn't a safe haven anymore. Yeah, no, sorry. Right. Yeah, not a safe haven anymore. Nope. Right? Not a safe haven. Bitcoin's not a safe haven. It's too correlated to NASDAQ. Okay, bro. Stablecoin operator Circle fires for an IPO. Hopefully they got their Treasury bond and Treasury bill risk management straightened out. Fingers crossed. Tether considers US-only stablecoin as Trump loosens crypto rules. Again, hopefully they have their bond market risk management together. Because if they don't, everybody's going to have to buy Bitcoin. If they have to dump treasuries, what are they going to do with the money? They're going to buy Bitcoin. I'm just saying. Just something worth bringing up. Now, if you want to talk an outside the box scenario, talk about that one, right? What happens if you have forced buying in Bitcoin and Ethereum at a moment where it makes sense, right? At a moment where nothing makes sense other than gold and Bitcoin. And you have all of a sudden an event inside crypto that goes, oh, wait a minute. We got to get in Bitcoin. We got to get in Ethereum. We got to evaluate all this interest rate risk or whatever the hell is going on here that we can't see. What I can see is Bitcoin and ETH. That's what I can see. And maybe XRP and Solana too. I can see a layer one. I can see something that works. Solana and ETH work. Fidelity wants to launch a stable coin. And I'm all about stable coins. As long as we don't have a problem with the bond market. The best time to launch a stable coin is right now. Right? These guys who have billions upon billions upon billions, like I said, hopefully they've spent their billions on good risk management. Gen Z wants ETFs and crypto. Unprecedented $3 billion XRP volume. Somebody knows something out there about American-made money that the rest of us don't? You think? Everybody's talking about insider knowledge. Like, who knew about the latest tariff tweet? Nancy Pelosi's been running a hedge fund. She's better than Cathie Wood at ARK, and we're worried about what happened over the weekend. Meanwhile, you have $3 billion in XRP volume. Okay, so AIntivirus trading at a $2 million market cap. $2 million. And Vitalik just came out and said a maximally simple L1 privacy roadmap. So Vitalik just came out and said, hey, how about privacy? How about it? How about it? Privacy coin on-chain payments. I think that sounds somewhat familiar. The Real ID Act. If you're an American, you want to check in the top right-hand corner of your driver's license to make sure it has a yellow star, because if it doesn't, you're not getting on an airplane and you're not going into any federal building. And Ron Paul, your classic libertarian, says the Real ID Act, okay, contains no limits on the government's power to impose additional standards. It gives Homeland Security unilaterally to add requirements as you see fit. And you thought Uncle Sugar had your interest at heart, didn't you? Right? They can do whatever they want. They can't, you can't stop this, right? That your driver's license is now a CBDC, whether the current administration uses it that way or not. Now, I suspect this is about illegal immigration. This is about people getting driver's license that they just, hand out. So I get it, but still. Real ID, it's unconstitutional. Unconstitutional, huh? So interesting, don't you think? Okay, TA. Let's do it. All right, so Bitcoin has to get back above 89, right? The current range is 78 to 89. It's got to reset the range from 89 to 102. It's that simple. Okay, ETH has a great bid to it. Kind of hoping this dip is the dip to buy in ETH, and this is some kind of accumulation cone, and ETH is just going to go boom. Reminder, dollar index. This is a quarterly chart, right? 1, 2, 3. Down in 2002 was not the end of the world. The dollar went from 115 to 75. And that was part of what allowed the U.S. economy to recover from the dot-com 9/11 bubble. So Chinese want to sell treasuries? Great. You want to press the dollar lower? Great. You're doing us a favor. You're doing us a favor. Have at it. Good luck. Puke out all your holdings. Lose money. Buy European government bonds. They're going to print $3 trillion to fight a war that's been over with the Russians for 10 years. All the best. Just get this down, whatever you do. You gave us all your Bitcoin, and now you're going to push the dollar lower for us. Thanks. Thanks for shopping in America. Meanwhile, okay, so with this OM thing, this 13 bottom in ETH versus Bitcoin, is that getting your attention? It should be. It should be. right? What happens if everyone wakes up and says, you know what? I think we'll do finance on ETH. That could happen very quickly, by the way, very quickly. And ETH is so oversold. Again, this is like kind of a void. There's nothing here, right? If you go to TradingView, right? So, we go back and forth about ETH. We go back and forth. But ETH has been making this hammered, it's just hammer away on its discount zone, right? It just sits down there and hammers on it. But I don't really see it going below it, honestly. So why would this not result in a very nice pop? Now, Bitcoin is wedged between the top of this trend line and the 200-day moving average. So no one is interested in Bitcoin above the 200-day moving average. That could be bearish. It could be. Or you start asking yourself, what happens if somebody becomes interested in Bitcoin above the 200-day moving average? Because LuxAlgo has got the buy signal in. And we don't have the buy signal yet in ETH. I think we only have it in ETH and Solana. Okay, Solana running away from a big fib circle level, right? Stopped it up here in March. A lot of people want to get short Solana. Okay. A lot of people think Solana is going to 90, right? A lot of people think Solana is going down here, 80, 90, okay? But what people don't realize is the discount zone is at 105. All right, so if you do a lever trade, and I guess if it goes from 130 to 104 or 100 or 97, that's a good trade, right? But, again, when you zoom out, I don't know why you would sell a battle-tested layer one when whatever they're doing on real-world asset chains has to be questioned at this point. Now, you're going to have volatility in stonks, right? I mean, there's just no there's no getting around volatility in stonks. I think, and we'll go over the bond market too, but NASDAQ hit its discount zone, and this discount zone saved capital markets. Really, it did. And you know what? I know we're all talking about tariffs, but if you have a $1 trillion blow up in the bond market and it's a question between that and the Magnificent Nine or the Nifty Nine, I'll take the Nifty Nine, right? Because you don't know what can happen in treasuries. The Fed's going to be coming in at some point, but you don't know that. Or you don't know if they do, like those other articles said, showing respect to other people's work, whether or not it's going to be perceived as panic, right? Like panic can spread. It can, right? I'm not saying nothing can go wrong with crypto. Of course something can go wrong, right? You have this huge mess. So this is the long bond futures contract, right? This head and shoulders bottom did obviously not work out. What a trap, right? What a trap. Okay. But you did get to this discount zone in long bonds. You did. Okay. This is the 10-year note yield. You do have a lot of room to go higher here. This is what the Chinese are selling. So the 10-year note yield in a bad scenario could go from 440, okay, to 480. And if that happened, capital markets would probably get wrecked, right? And you would see the Fed. Now, how Bitcoin behaves in that environment, I guess you can assume it could be very volatile. You could assume a range between 79 and 89, or you could assume a range between 70 and 80. I don't know. Obviously, that would be super negative. Obviously, the Fed is fully aware of that. Now, there's a lot of support at 440. You do not want to see its US10Y. So you want to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, dollar, red candle again. Now, the dollar is at its discount zone. So let's just end the TA part with something super simple. So the dollar has gone down. It has hit a level. Gold has gone up. It has hit its premium zone. The premium zone in Bitcoin is at 108. It's at 108. The premium zone in ETH is at 4,200. is at 4,200. So dollar down to discount. Gold up to premium. So what are the only two trades that have not been done? Bitcoin to 108 and ETH to 4,000. Let me ask you something. How much traction do you think I would get if I went out on YouTube and was like, you know what? ETH's going to 4,000 right now. How many people do you think would listen? None. None. But look, it's right here on the chart. It's right here. It's not that I'm making it up, right? Like, I've never seen anything. Even OM. OM went to its discount zone. When it went down, we'll look at it. Here's ETH versus Bitcoin. Who's bullish ETH? Who's long ETH other than Steve J and DeFi? Nobody. 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 There's a lot of power in nobody. Okay. Premium zone in silver, not until 35. A lot of room in silver. So no room in the thing that everyone's bullish in the media, and no one talking about Bitcoin, and definitely no one talking about Ethereum. Forget about it. Why talking about Ethereum? Ethereum's dead. It's the greatest trade in history to sell Ethereum. Yeah, let's get short Ethereum with this happening. OM down another 42 cents. I'm sorry, 42% into its discount zone. Bottom of the discount zone is basically zero. I don't know what this is about, but if it's about treasuries and dysfunction in real world assets, I know we got a huge network on Ethereum just waiting for you if you're ready. Ski mask dog. Oh, and I didn't even get to AI John McAfee yet. I didn't even get to it. Okay. Will meme coins come back? That is the $64 question. Man, I sure hope so, man. Everyone's like, oh, I hate meme coins. Oh, it's ruining crypto. I was like, oh, fart coin. Yay. Seriously, we're all doing it. Okay. So Ski, I don't know. Ski cannot do what it needs to do. It's got to be able to take out some kind of technical level and hold it. My guess would be this is the level now. Like 0.044. So if it can take out 0.044, that was, I don't know, kind of the start of the give up trade. Like that's where it's like really got kind of vertical. So this is the 4-hour chart of Ski, and that's what it's got to do. That's what it's got to do. Now I also noticed, because I know the people who are into this are also into AERO, which I find very interesting, frankly, because, I know somebody came out with competing DeFi. Okay. But this is oversold massively. I mean, it's just like, it's hard to find anything good on charts still, right? And I'm just wondering what happens if this thing gets out from above this resistance. Just kind of wondering, asking for a friend. Maybe it's a top. Maybe this little bounce, that's it. I don't know. But I'm really interested in ETH DeFi. Really. Now, to drive this point home about a lot of things, I mean, you can draw every line in the book. The bottom line is, ETH could be bottoming, and if Bitcoin holds above 82, it's positive. And if it's not positive, Solana will go to 90. That's it. That's it. And then you have to ask yourself over Easter, what's the big move? Is it a bond market blow up, or is it the realization that, oh my God, I have to own Bitcoin? So we got a lot of stuff going on in the world, Been listening to Ray Dalio, Alex Jones. I got a great idea. Let's ask John McAfee. This is how you talk to John McAfee on the AIntivirus website. So for the sake of, brevity, I actually had Grok distill it down and give me something super edgy. Listen up, folks. Ray Dalio's out there decoding the market's whispers, but he's missing the darn earthquake. Bitcoin's no currency. It's a middle finger to the suits strangling global finance. While they clutch their gold and fiat like scared kids, Bitcoin's the honey badger tearing through their house of cards. Trade wars, chump change. The digital beast thrives on chaos, laughs at borders, and spits on regulations. Every dollar China dumps, every ounce of gold hoarded, it just makes Bitcoin hungrier. It's not just money, it's a revolution screaming, "We're done with your chains. Wake up, this is the future," and it's not happy. Wake up, please. Okay? They call it safety, right? But it's a surveillance jackpot. This is your driver's licenses and social media companies sending your data, right? And tech CEOs, the digital snakes, allegedly serving your data, your photos, your secrets to the communists on a silver platter. Privacy's dead, folks, unless you fight back. Enter Anti, the rebel's blade slicing through this Orwellian nightmare, England. It's not just crypto, it's your shield, right? Encrypt your life, dodge their traps, unlock it, wield it. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? You know, England, don't bother applying if you're a certain person. You know, your kid and the government tell parents what to do. Global electricity growth. AI data centers are going to take all the electricity in the world. Actually, AI data centers are in the middle of the pack. I know we need more electricity. I get it. But this whole AI data centers eat the world thing, I don't know. Maybe we should question the groupthink. And again, here's Galaxy giving up its Bitcoin mining. And oh, by the way, year-over-year change in the consumer price index. So big rate of inflation spike, big ol' collapse. Express chain to zero. Zero. All right, folks, that is the market update for today. Okay, you will have downside volatility in crypto. They will give you dips, okay, which is good, right? Because this sets up something over the holiday. Holiday trades are huge. Place your bets now. Could it be up? Could it be down? I don't know. But the day you get forced buying a Bitcoin, the day you get people waking up to Bitcoin's true purpose, and then, of course, there's this ETH trade. Do you imagine what would happen in this crypto market if ETH turned around and went from 1,600 to 4,000? Can you imagine? Like, you gotta, that's really the question you got to ask yourself, right? What happens if Bitcoin goes right to 100 or through 100 and stays there? That's the question number one. Question number two is, what happens if ETH goes to 3,000 and just blows through it? I mean, what's the downside scenario? Okay, NASDAQ goes down, Treasury bonds blow up, Bitcoin goes to 67, and Michael Saylor gets liquidated. Those are your choices. Now, let me ask you this. In which scenario do you make more money? You bet on Bitcoin and ETH and both currencies double quickly, or you can get out and sit in fiat. You won't have any risk. And, you know, the best position is the one that helps you sleep at night. And I've heard a flip on that where it's like, if you're sleeping too well, you don't have enough risk. If you're not sleeping, you have too much risk. Stan Druckenmiller said he never bought a bottom. He never bought anything at the bottom where it felt good. It feels horrible. Feels horrible. Like, you got Dalio on the tape, on major network news. You got Goldman and all these guys going, it's all over. It's a disaster. How good does it feel? It really doesn't. Especially if the market turns around and winds up negative today. But the reason I read McAfee's thing is, you know, sometimes you need a little courage because it's horrible. It's so hard. It is hard. Like, if Bitcoin's really going to 160, you won't want to buy it at 80. If Bitcoin's going to 4,000, ETH will be radioactive at 1600. Radioactive, ETH was radioactive a couple times at 80, I think maybe 800 after FTX, right? If it's a bottom, it's scary. Is it scary? Probably. Then I have to leave the conclusion to you. Okay, Philip, Kamania, TC Crypto, everybody who supports us, please check out Patreon. That's the middle tier offering. Please visit the YouTube member area. Hit the notification button. If you don't have 2 nickels to rub together, please support the channel any way you can. That keeps us going for when the big day comes. I'm hoping it's a little like resurrection action on Easter, right? Praying to the higher power of my understanding that I'm right about this, not Ray Dalio. We'll see you tomorrow.